Seth MacFarlane's foul-mouthed bear, Ted, comes to the small screen after two very successful movies, and it's already been greenlit for a second season on Peacock. Let's talk about Ted. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my TV review for Seth MacFarlane's TV show Ted. This is a prequel series to the two films, and I will say right off the bat, small spoiler for my grade, but I think this is a much better forum for this bear. I think this show is a lot better than the film, so take that for what it's worth before we get started here. Let me first welcome you in, though, to Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do TV and movie reviews here on the channel, and just about every day I post something new, so there's always a lot to check out. With that in mind, please consider subscribing, click that like button, comment below. All that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. All right, so look, I am real hit or miss with Seth MacFarlane. I think he is a funny dude. I enjoy when he hosts the Oscars. I like him in interviews. I like that he's kind of like got this old school kind of song and dance man vibe. But I think Family Guy is a terrible TV show. I think he is a lousy writer. And part of the reason is because I don't think he writes stories, really. He just writes a bunch of jokes and then tries to figure out a way to sort of insert them into a very loose and horrible plot. And we've seen that not just with The Family Guy, but American Dad and The Cleveland Show and some of the other movies he's done, including A Million Ways to Die in the West. And as a result, I thought the Ted movies were okay. I think the first one I probably liked better than the second one, but they were both probably about the same grade for me, like sort of in that C range. And so in the film, it was Mark Wahlberg as this kid, John Bennett, or this man, and then Ted was this teddy bear who came to life in the 80s. So here we have the prequel. So this takes place in the early 90s, 93, 94 is the era that we're looking at. And as a result, there are, I think, more opportunities to explore this character, but I think it also makes a lot more sort of sense with the John character, because in the movies, I thought John was kind of a loser, you know? He was just a stoner. He hung out with this little teddy bear all day. He had no direction. But as a teenage John Bennett, now he's played in the series by Max Burkholder, who you may know from the TV show Parenthood. He's played by him, and it makes a lot more sense in that context. You know, yes, of course this kid is going to be directionless. He's like 15 or 16 or whatever he's supposed to be. He is a high school student who is just sort of the low end of the ladder. You know, he's bullied a lot. He's got, you know, a lot of social problems, family problems at home with his parents, and they are played here by Alana Ubach and Scott Grimes. And they were played by different people in the film. They had flashback scenes, I think, in the first Ted movie, and Alex Borstein and Ralph Garman played them. But so they were replaced with these other people. And then Georgia Wiggum plays John's cousin, who is there because she's got her own family issues. So she's sort of living with John and his family. And then, of course, Seth MacFarlane recreates his voice for Ted. So in this structure, in this context, I think there's a lot more things to explore. Each episode is about 40 minutes, so it's longer than a half-hour sitcom would be, but not so stretched out that it seems like it's dragging. You know, look, could these have been trimmed to half-hour episodes? Yeah, probably. And I'm sure we probably would have gotten the same effect, but it's fine. I didn't find that it overstayed its welcome because there are only 7 episodes. So, you know, it's about the same runtime as, say, 10 episodes that are a half hour or something like that. So it's okay on the length. But I just like the idea of this time period a lot more for these characters. You know, because instead of John being this loser adult, he is kind of a nerdy outcast of a kid trying to find his own way. And that is a lot more endearing. And with that in mind, the endearing quality, this show has a lot of heart, surprisingly. You know, one of the things I kind of hate about Family Guy is that everybody's just kind of reprehensible, and that can work sometimes. Like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it certainly works. Seinfeld had its moments with that, but on something like The Simpsons, where there's a lot of similar themes, and certainly Family Guy sort of copped originally from The Simpsons, and then once that became popular, Simpsons kind of cribbed from Family Guy. But there always was kind of a heart to those characters on The Simpsons, especially in the earlier years. And I find that the heart here is really on full display, and it's a welcome change to a lot of the Seth MacFarlane TV shows that we get. Yeah, there's a lot of potty humor here. There's really, I mean, I would say that's the biggest downfall of the series, is that, he could have just for once had something. Well, and you know what? I'm sorry. He has done things before with some heart and with less potty humor. The Orville is a great example of that. Now, I don't know how far he is in the writing of the Orville. He, certainly acts in it, and I believe he created it. And maybe he wrote the first few episodes. I don't know if he wrote a lot of the episodes or whatever. But there's a great example. Yes, there's a little bit of toilet humor in that show, but for the most part, it stands on its own as something that really everyone can enjoy. And Ted, almost had that ability. Well, it did have the ability, but he decided to go blue with it anyway. And there's a lot of places in this show where you're like, oh, wow, this is really a meaningful scene, or, this family member is helping this family member, and we're so excited to see that, whatever. And then there's some sort of really, really crude, 3-minute tangent about masturbation or whatever. And it's just like, we didn't really have to go there. I get that he's sort of in this box, right? I think when people hear Seth MacFarlane's name, they expect something kind of specific, and that is sort of dirty or whatever. This show didn't have to be that, and it's frustrating that it is. However, the moments that do work really, really fire on all cylinders, and it's very, very sweet in that way, and it's funny. I think this show is a lot funnier than the films, for sure. And I like sort of the archetype characters, specifically the parents. It reminded me a little bit of the Wonder Years, for example, because you've got sort of that dad who's kind of a curmudgeon. He's a little bit of an Archie Bunker, he's kind of racist, whatever. And of course, the show is saying, that's bad. But then you have, the put upon mother, homemaker, who maybe desires more, but also we find out through the series, maybe, she's happy doing what she's doing. So look, I'm excited to see where this show goes in season 2, which was just announced a couple of weeks ago. So we're definitely getting that. And I'm happy for it, because I think there's a lot of places for this show to grow. Especially, we just got 7 episodes. In many cases, sitcoms would just sort of be finding their feet after 7 episodes. Now, of course, we have the movie template to kind of go off of, but since this is the beginning of all of that, it is, kind of a new sitcom of sorts. I will say it's a little bit weird. Look, Seth MacFarlane loves his pop culture references. The more random, the better sometimes. However, they are definitely not in the right time frame. 93, 94. Yeah, some of it is, he went to see Jurassic Park, but then they talk about the Macarena at one point, and that's 96, 95 maybe, but definitely not 93, 94. So there's some kind of inconsistencies there, but I won't dock too many points for that. But overall, like I said, I think this is much better than the movies. I believe Ted with a B. I think it could have easily been higher than that if we excised some of those really, really, dirty segments. And it's not just a joke. It's a whole 2 or 3 minute, diatribe or whatever on that subject, and it's just it just pulls me right out every time, and it brings me back to, okay, right, this is the reason I don't like Family Guy and American Dad and all of that kind of stuff. But look, the proof's in the pudding. Obviously, those shows are very popular, but I think this is a much better made show than that, and I really think it's better than the movie, so my B stands there. All right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews It. You can check this out now, Season 1 on Peacock. Thanks for watching. Bye.